Do you ever want to dive deeper into the Bible, but you just don't know where to begin or struggle to feel like you even have the time? When you read the Bible, do you get frustrated because you know there is so much more in there? You just have no clue how to get it out. Or maybe you just want to know the Bible better and you're looking for any resource to help. Well, then this is the podcast for you. Welcome to the Context and Color of the Bible podcast. We are two sisters. I'm Erica.
And I'm Veronica.
We love to study the Bible and help others understand it better. When it comes to our own study of Scripture, we have found that in bringing back the context of Scripture, it adds so much to our understanding. It actually adds color to the black and white pages of the text. So, Veronica,
Yes,
our
Erica.
last podcast, you were talking about unsolved murders.
Yes.
And you know what I thought would be a really fun idea for a book series? A Jewish Sherlock Holmes. Wouldn't that be fun? Like set in Old Testament times, and he just goes from like village to village, solving all these unsolved murders, figuring out who did it.
That would be kind of fun.
Wouldn't that be fun? Like
That would be fun.
you
Are
could
you
bring
an
in-
author and going to write this?
No.
Okay. So you're totally willing to sell your idea.
I will graciously, yes, because in our homeschool curriculum, we read about a judge in Japan.
Oh, yeah.
During the samurai period who goes around doing unsolved murders and crimes.
And now you've just added another book I need to add to our book list.
Oh, it's not a...
It is. But the problem is Erica does this. She throws out books.
I do.
And then homeschooling moms go, ooh, Erica
What
mentioned
book?
it. What book?
What's it
I
called?
don't know, but
We'll find it.
I will add it to, here's where you find it, on Facebook, in our Facebook group. Pinned at the top is like something like Erica's book list. Because the problem is people are driving around in cars
And listening.
going for a run, and Erica throws out a book and gives no information other than it's a really good book.
Okay, so this one we just read this year. It's like my second or third time reading it. I had to read it to Allie this time.
Okay.
And I can't remember the title of it.
Is it The Ghost of Tokido Inn?
Yes, The Ghost of Tokaido Inn, or
Okay.
however, Tokido Inn. Such a fun book.
Okay.
He's kind of like a Sherlock Holmes, but we totally need someone. If you're an author out there listening, a Jewish Sherlock Holmes who, during Old Testament period, goes around doing these unsolved murders. So instead of the heifer dying, you find out who did it. There you go. That's my
Erica's
pitch.
saving cattle left and right in her story.
That's my pitch. Wouldn't that be fun?
That could be fun. Yes. So, not that I know anyone who can write books, but
I'm sure somebody
yeah. So,
out there.
send it to us and we will be your test group to read it.
Yes, please. I would love that.
All right. So, totally off topic.
Yeah,
now.
back to Deuteronomy.
We are in chapter 21, starting at verse 10. And we ended last week, we were talking about war and the different rules God has set up for war. And one of the things is you have to remember is think about the ancient Near Eastern society. They were all about conquest, wealth, and women. And so with that, when you conquer a city, well, the women are fair game. And they would often do horrific things to them. And God says, hey, you're not going to do that. If you think you see the woman over there from the conquered city who captures your eye and you want to make her your wife, there's going to be some rules before you can do that. Because God is ultimately wanting to make sure that female captive is a person, reminding his army those women are people. One is to be treated with empathy rather than just as a sexual object. So God says, you can take her, but not just to have your way with her. You will marry her. But when you marry her, you can't do that for at least 30 days.
So you don't marry her for 30 days.
No, you don't. You have to wait.
You have to wait 30 days.
30 days. And during those 30 days, there's nothing
Happening, folks.
Nothing happening. Okay? This is like you're engaged, betrothed before the actual wedding ceremony. Because what this does is it stops it from being an impulsive act of marriage. Ooh, she's beautiful. I want her. I'll marry her. I can have my way with her. But instead, God says you're going to wait 30 days and you're going to do some things that render her less attractive, like shave her head. Because if you're just going with her physical beauty, well, we're going to do some things that will potentially
make her less beautiful.
Short term, make her less beautiful. So you can really think about, oh, was it just her beauty I wanted or was there something deeper? And she is allowed time to weep and mourn her family.
Yeah, because her life has just completely changed.
And even if her family hasn't been killed, she's probably never going to see them again because she's going to come with you back to your hometown and leave her hometown. So she's going to, after all of that, she will discard her captive clothing and dress like an Israelite. And she's no longer a captive. She has been elevated to be an Israelite. But I'm going to hold on to that thought for a minute because I want to say, first of all, you got to be a total jerk. If you don't feel sorry for someone when you're watching them mourn. You know, we talked about last week, feelings are contagious. Emotions are contagious. If you watch someone who is legitimately crying and mourning,
it's heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking and tears automatically come. I mean, I love to watch. It's called the Behavior Panel, and they analyze different people, and they showed two guys who were both interested in the same woman. One of them killed her, one of them didn't. And they both cry and they both fall to the floor. But it was fascinating. The one who killed her and he's putting on the act, you never had that natural emotional response. But the guy who didn't know, and it was just, he's finding out for the first time his loved one has died. You can't help but be moved by his
grief.
His grief.
You can't fake grief. Like you instinctively pick up on that's fake.
Yes. And even without realizing it, because I didn't know going into it which one it was like when I start crying with the second one, I'm like, oh, this is real grief. And so in doing that, it allows that soldier then, if you're watching her mourn her family, to be moved to compassion and see her heartache, which then takes her from being a conquest of war
to an actual person.
Wow. So it protects the woman. So you go, there's so much here that when you really dig a little bit, you go, oh, God, you're protecting her when it doesn't feel like it.
And it might give her a chance to see his heart.
Yeah.
And see him mourn with me. Oh, in the beginning, I hated you because you took me away. But now there's actually something there.
Yeah, that's true. Because what you ultimately see, though, is in the Torah, God is defending the weak against the strong. And he's teaching them to have respect for the people that they're conquering as people. Because here's the thing. This is one I want to come back to. If they get married, first of all, marriage is going to require her consent. She's not voiceless. She has a say. She has an opinion. So it's not demanded of her. She can choose, no, I don't want to marry you.
Is that in the text or is that something like Dennis Prager pulls out?
This would actually be First Fruits of Zion.
Oh, okay.
So the relationship is voluntary. It's not coerced. And she's not simply absorbed into Israel's household as she was. She has to convert. She has to completely say, no, I am giving up my false gods and I'm going to be a follower of your God.
She becomes Jewish.
Yes. I'm going to dress like you. I'm going to eat like you. I'm going to worship like you.
Right.
Because we already know Israel is not supposed to intermarry with the surrounding nations. So the only way you could actually marry her
is if she converts.
So what happens though then, that marriage is permitted after she converts because Israel's demand to stay holy and distinct from the other nations. And Ezra, if you're reading some of the prophets, Ezra is going to confront Israel on this very issue when he required Israel to send away the foreign wives who had not joined themselves to the house of God.
Yeah. So does Nehemiah, I think.
That would be Ezra 10 verses 10 and 11.
Yeah, it's a pretty hard.
Yeah, because what you want to realize, the women taken in battle were not to be removed. Instead, they were to be brought in. You're not just taking them out, you're bringing them in.
You are becoming a new person.
And then he can never use her as a slave, sell her, or just use her sexually. She is to be treated as a woman. And if they, for some reason, don't stay together, she is now a free Israelite woman. She has become part of their society. So my question is, as you look at and you go, oh, Israel goes to war. That's terrible. How could they do that? how does Israel stand apart from the other nations?
Right.
What other nations have laws governing protect the women?
Because sadly, we live in a broken world with evil, and war is an evil necessity sometimes. It is a fact. It's sad. I wish it wasn't. But it is. You can't just say, I'll never fight. Because guess what? You sometimes have to.
But when you fight,
you do it differently.
You're still going to stand out.
And I will say this for the IDF, Israel, their forces, they do. They fight differently. They try at all costs to preserve life. And it's amazing.
So now that's going to bring us up to verses 15 through 17. The man who can have more than one wife. And let's just say it right now, polygamy is messy.
Oh, it's so bad.
So what you're going to have is you'll notice that scripture never says polygamy is wrong or a sin. But every time it talks about polygamy and those families with the husbands with more than one wife,
never goes well.
It doesn't.
Never.
It doesn't. So what I love is you have these laws in Deuteronomy, but then hopefully you have the stories from Genesis to Revelation filling in going, yeah, this is why God said this.
When I went to JUC, he was gone by the time I got there, but Dr. Wright, the president of the school, would tell us stories about their gardener they used to have had 2 wives. He was Muslim. And so he had 2 wives. Well, his wives would join forces against him and beat him up. And they would send him to the hospital if he ticked them off.
Oh, no.
Yes. He said it was terrible for the poor man because he's like, they were just mean and they ruled the roost because they joined forces and he had no say. So he would not marry a third because he was terrified he'd get really overruled. But yeah, so it doesn't always go well. I mean,
right?
I don't think it ever goes well, truthfully. But sometimes the man suffers too. Let's be honest.
Because in verse 15, we'll flip it around. If a man has 2 wives and loves one but not the other,
oh,
can you think of any Bible stories?
Yeah. Rachel and Leah, maybe?
Yes. It actually, the Hebrew word for unloved actually means hatred, which would even be worse in my mind of it's worse when you hate me, I think.
Yeah, that's sad.
But you now have this problem of you have one wife who is potentially loved more than the other. And in the ancient Near Eastern societies, the firstborn son would have the right to inherit a larger piece of his father's inheritance. So now you have this situation where the husband has a preferred wife, which probably means he has a preferred child.
Jacob and Joseph.
Exactly. So now it's like, oh, what do you do when it comes to inheritance? And these laws are going to apply regardless of feelings. This means that even when a man has a son, he would prefer to have the inheritance and the blessings. God is going to say you can't do it. So God is looking out to protect the child and the unloved mother.
So you have to stay with the son of your first wife.
Yes.
Your firstborn son of your first wife. You can't overlook him
in favor of the younger.
Which is partially what caused Joseph all his issues. He overlooked Reuben, and it ticked everybody off.
Joseph or Jacob?
Jacob overlooked Reuben for Joseph, and so caused Joseph and Jacob a lot of issues.
Jacob having favorites caused a bunch of issues from the get-go.
From the get-go.
But Jacob came by it naturally.
Yeah.
He was favored by Rachel.
True.
Not Rachel, Rebecca.
Yeah.
And Isaac favored Esau.
Didn't work.
Don't play favorites.
Or if you do, don't show it. Does that work?
Because we all know the firstborn is the best.
Mm-hmm. I'll just sit quietly here in my middle child peacemaking ways.
Yes. But now this is going to get into verses 18 through 21 where you're going to address a rebellious son. Because this law is set up to protect the parents from an unruly child. Because civilizations cannot be sustained when parents lose authority over their children.
I think that needs to be repeated. Could you say that again?
Civilizations cannot be sustained when parents lose authority over their children. Because parental authority is the vehicle to God's authority. And a son who was repeatedly insubordinate, there was no hope of reforming him. And so it's going to be so bad that it's not just the parents who are going to agree to this, but the elders of the town. But since you have both parents agreeing, that means the mother must concur, which prevents, going back to favoritism, prevents the dad from falsely charging the unfavored wife's son and depriving him of his inheritance.
So you essentially have parents going to the elders of the town saying, our son's bad.
Yes.
He's wicked. He's evil. And then the town agrees and they put him to death.
Yes.
So you can't have just the dad going.
Correct.
To the town.
The mom has to go.
The mom has to go. And the town has to agree. Because you can't have two parents who, for whatever reason, we hate this one. Esau, we want Jacob. The town has to agree. Yes, he is wicked. So like there's multiple safeguards.
Yes.
In this.
Yes. And truthfully, there's no evidence this actually was ever carried out.
Yeah.
And now when they not only get the town involved, you're going to have all the men involved in participating in the stoning. So now if this is not true, all these people are now accused of murder, which triggers a whole new set of laws.
Right.
To come into play. It would imply that the son's offense was not just in his family and impacting his family, it's impacting the entire community.
Because sin spreads.
Yes.
And so God is dealing with, before it spreads, deal with it. And if you, the parents, refuse to deal with your son, I will.
I mean, it's just, but you see all these safeguards in place.
Yeah.
But you also see, okay, if this isn't true, this triggers a whole new set of laws. I mean, there's so many safeguards in place, one after the other of what are we dealing with? Okay, well, that triggers these laws to come in.
Right. I think you said this when we were talking before we started recording. These laws are interconnected. You can't just see one set by themselves. You have to see them completely interconnected. So if you find you can't just, well, I'm going to pick up Deuteronomy 20 verse 5 because I like that law, because that law is interconnected to 5 other laws that say something. So it's not just, they are so connected and we have to remember that.
And they're not just connected within Deuteronomy. You've got to bring in Leviticus. You've got to bring in Numbers. And then you bring in the stories from Genesis and Exodus to go, oh.
This is why he's doing it this way, because we've already seen it doesn't work well. I just can't get over them having more, like, what would I do if my husband wanted another wife? Like that thought just.
It's a no-brainer.
Right.
Ain't happening.
Yeah, I'd be devastated. But I get it. It was their society.
It was a way to protect.
You had children.
And house and food.
Right.
But with that, then, that leads us to verses 22 and 23. And I'm going to have you read Deuteronomy 21, 22, and 23.
If someone has committed a crime worthy of death and is executed and hung on a tree, the body must not remain hanging from the tree overnight. You must bury the body that same day, for anyone who is hung is cursed in the sight of God. In this way, you will prevent the defilement of the land, and the Lord your God is giving you as your special possession.
Okay, perfect. Go back to why was this person hung?
A crime worthy of death.
Okay, so hanging this is going, you're cursed because of all the crime that committed.
This is a criminal. This is a legit, you've murdered people, you're a criminal.
Yes, you deserve this punishment.
Right.
But so what's interesting though, because in many countries around that time, they would display the dead bodies or parts of the body because it would be a way to be a deterrent.
Yeah, it would terrify other people from rebelling, from committing the crime, whatever. It was very common.
But God is still saying, even though that person deserved death, even though that person is a criminal, there is still an intrinsic holiness because that person was made in God's image. So you are not going to display the body. You're not going to leave it up there for the animals to ravage and scatter. That body is still, that human life has been taken, and there still needs to be
respect and honor for it. And so you bury it.
Yes.
You treat him as a human being. Yes, he's done horrible things, or whoever, but they're still a human being. They are put to death. There is consequences and justice, but there's still respect for the body.
Yes. Which I mean, there's so much like you go, God, you really were paying attention to details, and a merciful, gracious God going, there are going to be times you have to deal with sin.
Yeah.
And depending on the severity of the sin.
Sometimes there is no redemption right now. You put them to death. because they will only continue to do what they did. And you will encourage other people to do it if there's no justice. Justice is for the victim to protect the weak. If you do not have justice in a society, criminals go free.
But with that, then you get into chapter 22 and it's the perfect, you go, here's the horrible crimes this person has done. But hey, look, I care so much. When you find someone's animal, you're going to take care of it. You have to do what's right. You don't get to go, oh, it's somebody else's. I don't want to get involved. I'm too busy. I've got something else going on. You are going to take care of other people's property to the point that it means you will return it to its owner, no matter how long it takes. But in the meantime, you're going to care for it. You're going to personally invest in this animal by feeding it, by taking care of it, and potentially lose some of your own.
You would want someone to do that for you if it was your animal. So you're going to treat your neighbor as you would want to be treated.
Because many of that population own livestock and animals were used for transport. So it would be common to come upon a stray. When you find someone's animal, take it in as if it's your own. Care for it while you look for the owner.
Try to return it.
Yes. And you've also got to take care of if it's suffering, if it's trapped in a pit, lift it out. You are going to even care about the animal's suffering, not just the person who lost it. So with that, then we're going to go to verse 5, 22:5, Air.
A woman must not put on men's clothing, and a man must not wear women's clothing. Anyone who does this is detestable in the sight of the Lord your God.
Okay, so interesting verse, but it brings up again, and we keep coming back to this. God has layers and levels and distinctions. And again, he has distinction within male and females. And the obvious way to tell the difference is by their clothes. And God says basically, whatever a man wears should be identified with him and
as a man.
Male. As a man. Whatever a woman wears should be identified with her and her clothing. So therefore, it's not about, oh, only women should wear dresses, only men should wear pants. Because you can have a Scot who wears a kilt. That's not women's clothing. God says whatever is identified as male, those clothes belong to him, and only he wears them. Whatever is identified as female, those clothes belong to her. So you can have women's pants and wear them. Because this would include armor, clothing, hairdos, anything that is characteristic of this is what men have, this is what women have.
And when you break this is what you get in America these days. In the West, absolute chaos. And nobody knows who's who and what's what because we think we can destroy God's boundaries and absolutes, and all we have left is chaos. And it doesn't work well. If you're listening from a third world or an outside country out of the West, it doesn't work well. Do not copy us. This is not good.
So now we're going to get into some random verses. Verses 6 and 7 talk about taking eggs from a bird's nest. And there's different thoughts. One thought is you move the mother away so she doesn't see her eggs getting taken, and therefore you prevent her trauma. But other commentaries say, but is that really preventing her trauma? Because if she comes back and she didn't see what happened to her babies and now they're gone, or the eggs, is that less traumatic? But some commentators say releasing the mother ensures her to be productive and produce more offspring, and you're showing respect for her as the life giver. But Dennis Prager says it's interesting. Three commandments. Let me say that again. Only 3 commandments have a promise of long life. 1, honoring your parents. 2, acting honestly in business. And 3, sending the mother bird away. So he says by linking those together, you have a strong argument that this is an ethical law more for your own heart and for people rather than the bird. We know what happened, and we're sending her away for our own character to be compassionate and kind.
So this is more about the human being learning compassion for the animal, maybe, than this is about the animal.
Yes.
It's more for us.
Yes.
Be compassionate. Be kind.
Yes.
Even to the animals.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you can do it for the least of these,
you'll do it for
you can do it for everyone. So now, will you read verse 8?
When you build a new house, you must build a railing around the edge of its flat roof. That way you will not be considered guilty of murder if someone falls from the roof.
Okay, because you got to realize back in those days, they had flat roofs where the people relaxed, and you are to actively care for the lives of others at your own cost.
But I like how this is also saying if you did put the edge around it,
Right.
a railing, and someone falls off, then it isn't your fault.
Right.
Like, if you're going to be an idiot, I'm not responsible because you're being foolish. But I need to do what's in my power to protect you when you're in my home. But if you're going to take a knife and run with it, or
That's
scissors,
on you.
That's on you.
Be careful what you do at Erica's house.
Don't run with a knife.
It's not taking you to the hospital. All right. Verse 10 brings up different sized animals who have different levels of strength, and different walking paces can injure the weaker animal. So God's saying, again, be compassionate. Look out for the weaker one. Don't put them together because one of them will be injured. Potentially both of them will be injured. Verse 11, we know that wool comes from animals and linen comes from plants. And that combination was worn by the priests and part of their special clothes that distinguish them from everyone else. And again, God says, you don't get to wear that. You don't get to wear their special blends, and because that only goes with them and it signifies who they are. But you do put tassels on because the threads and the knots are symbolic, that they represent the 613 laws. Plus they have the blue, which reminds them of the priestly color. So God goes, okay, you don't get to dress like them, but I do want to put one little thing on to remind you, you are supposed to be a kingdom of priests, not just a kingdom with priests. And so you're still representing me and carrying me with you go. But it's interesting because I don't know if you're picturing, like when it says the corners, like kind of like a poncho, but this would actually be, they would be more on the hems. And so you have God, again, sending up reminders of, hey, you're to look different from the world around you. You're to be in covenant with me. He's already given them Sabbath and a 7-day week. And then he says, hey, don't forget kosher food, which happens all the time. Don't forget circumcision. Don't forget the 7 feasts. There's all these reminders because God knows we forget. And he goes, I want everywhere you to turn to go, oh, yeah, I'm in covenant. I'm in relationship with God. I'm to represent him to the world. And so now the rest of this chapter deals with marriage. And I want to keep this in this week because I wanted to come back to what we said at the beginning. In verse 13, you have a man who's potentially doing this to get out of marriage. Because should he simply want to divorce his wife without cause, he would probably forfeit the bride price.
So instead, he accuses her of adultery.
Yes. And this prevents like a buyer's remorse where you charge her with something that would allow him to get his bride price back. So you've got some things going on here of this is going to protect the woman from being defamed, especially if the husband is making up this claim that she was not a virgin when they got married. But if he's lying, he is going to be the one punished. So if he makes this comment and says, hey, she wasn't a virgin when we got married, and they find out he's lying, he gets punished. Because what happens is if it's true, the whole city is going to come around and put her to death. And so what you don't want is the whole city now being, we murdered an innocent person.
And I think it's helpful to remember, Veronica, that these were meant to be, I think, more preventative than prescriptive. Like, if you know the potential consequence of, hey, I marry this woman, I get tired of her, and I try to divorce her, then I'm going to get in a lot of trouble. I think God's intention is like, choose wisely who you marry and stick in there. Don't just quick, easy divorces are not what God wants. Any divorce is not God's heart. And so I think we need to remember that it's not that this is the way you handle it. Like his desire is that it wouldn't happen at all. And here's a way to prevent it from happening. These quick, easy divorces, these lies, these destroyed marriages.
And truthfully, again, it's probably extremely unlikely this was ever put into practice. But you also have in verse 22, where if a man has another man's wife, then they're both guilty.
If he has adultery, if he and another woman,
the death penalty is reserved for adultery, not for premarital sex.
Because you have a way, if you want sex, you have a way to deal with it. Sleep with your spouse. But if you commit an act of passion in the moment, And we'll probably get there. I think that's later on.
Yes,
we'll
we're
get
coming
there.
right into it.
But you don't get to leave your spouse to have sex with someone else.
Right.
That's breaking covenant, and that's breaking a bond.
So now we are going to get into forcibly having relations with a woman. I'm trying to avoid one word. But when you see that action in scripture, it's never just a minor crime.
Tamar and
Amnon. Yep. And Dinah.
Yeah.
Jacob's daughter.
Yeah.
So as you read through these laws and as you struggle with it, realize every time we have the story that goes with it,
it's horrific.
It's horrific. And the family, some of the family, David did a lousy job, but that's another story. Some of the family
deal with it.
Deals with it in probably a good way. An appropriate response.
There's anger.
Yes. So with that, in verses 24 and 27, when it's both the man and the woman are to be put to death when it happens in town, because that implies consent, because there's too many people around. She could have called out. She could have cried. Someone could have seen something, heard something. So if this happens in the town, both the man and woman are guilty.
And she's a virgin, but she's engaged.
Yes.
So this would be considered adultery then, because she's engaged. Is that why? Because this isn't just...
I'm not sure. I'm going to
that would
tread carefully there.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's just if she's a virgin and engaged.
Because I think later, if she's not engaged, he has to marry her.
Well, we're going to get into that.
So this one, she's engaged.
Okay. I'm going to trust Erica right now on that.
Yeah, that's what it says.
Okay. Because I'm going to tell you, if it happens in the open country, then only he's responsible to be punished, because chances are there was no one around to hear or protect her. So only the man is punished.
The assumption is if she's in town, she could have cried out and didn't, so she's choosing to go along with it. Mm-hmm. Because we have to remember their houses are close together. Like, when the neighbors are fighting because your houses are right next door. There's always someone around.
Built with soundproof.
Like, you're all living in this very tight-knit community. But if she's out in the fields, the assumption is she did cry out and there was no one to help her. So the assumption is the woman's innocent and you treat her as such in the country.
Yep. So now verse 29. If he happens to, or 28, meet a virgin who's not pledged to be married and does this to her and they're discovered. Now, this is where it gets so hard. He's going to have to marry her and pay a fine, and he's never going to be able to divorce her. It's going to cost him something. The point is not, force her to be with this terrible man. The point is she is now provided for the rest of her life, because now that she's in a way used, she has a limited field to pick from husbands. So this is going to keep him liable to compensate for her being less eligible for marriage, and provides for the financial loss that comes to her parents.
And I think, again, this is preventative.
Yes.
Like, if you sleep with someone, you're going to have to marry her, you are less likely to just give in to a moment of passion. Mm-hmm. And so I think, again, like, God is trying to prevent this from happening. But if it does happen, if you lose control and you sleep together, guess what? You are now one. You get married. But I feel like there's also compassion in this, because now you have a community that knows this couple screwed up, but can take them under their wing and say, okay, now let's mentor you. You still have a chance at a good, long, godly life. Your life is not defined by this one act. You still have a potential good marriage, children, a life ahead of you that can still be a blessing and can still be good. Mm-hmm. And so it's a very merciful.
And she has the right to refuse. She and her father do have the right to refuse. This is not you have to get married. This is an option. And so therefore, you know what? If that father goes, no, this is not good.
Right.
You are in danger.
Jerk.
I'm keeping you.
Yeah.
She doesn't have to. This is you know what? He actually could.
They like each other and they both screwed up.
Right.
Type of situation.
He could be a good.
Right. He lost control.
Yes. So, all right, with that. But I want to point out again, the point is not God being unkind or unmerciful. This is God going, I am looking out I am protecting you. It might not feel like in our day and age a protection, but we're not living in that culture.
Right.
And I'm okay if you wrestle and go, I don't like it. That's fine. That's fine. Take it up with God. Really, I'm not the one setting these rules. This is God saying, here's what you can do. Here's options. Here's a way to deal with it. But again, it cost the man something. He doesn't just get to walk away and, and live his happy life. No, he now will be providing for her for the rest of her life and any children she has. So there is consequences that he has.
Which are sadly lacking in our society today. How much sex outside of marriage would not happen if there were consequences like this?
Yeah.
I mean, how many broken families would not happen if there were consequences?
Yeah. So one random last verse 30. Erica, would you read it?
A man must not marry his father's former wife, for this would violate his father.
All right. Now, first of all, if you read it in the ESV and the New King James, it will talk about removing a garment. And that is an idiom used for sexual relations. But it sounds strange that a man should not marry his father's wife because your first thought is that's his mother. Well, it's not. Leviticus has already made it clear that kind of relationship is not allowed. But what you have instead is if you have a husband a dad who has more than one wife, chances are if he has younger wives, she could be the same age as his son. And so you're removing that potential relationship there. Deuteronomy is all about desexualizing the family. And if you go, ooh, that's my dad's wife, and someday he'll die and I'll inherit all his possessions and everything. Nope, you don't get the wives.
They're not a possession.
They're not a possession. They are still a woman. And so it's just a way for God going, there's a difference. Women are not objects. Women are not possessions. Women are not to be used and abused and thrown away. He looks for, whether we feel it all the time or not, ways to protect them and to keep them safe from men who would use them for their own pleasures. And so this is another one where you go, okay, if we throw it in here, it doesn't always make sense. But if you go keep it with the whole thing, coming back to where we started, God is trying to protect women. He values women significantly and has laws that are out for their protection.
Amen.
So a little bit longer, but I wanted to keep that all together.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. So we're halfway-ish through Deuteronomy. Hopefully you are enjoying it. Hopefully you're seeing some new things. Like we said, we'd love to hear back from you. We'd love to know what you're thinking.
I think we're more than halfway.
Are we? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. How many chapters?
34.
Oh, good. We are.
Like 2/3?
2/3. So
our math. Homeschool
not
math.
doing math today. But don't forget, you can jump on social media. We'd love to hear what you're learning, what connections you make, like we said. So we'll talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.